Chris and his dad talk about sports.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chris and his dad show, where we talk about the NFL, and specifically the NFL playoffs. It's in full swing. We had an amazing week of games last week, a lot of rivalries and a lot of upsets, a lot of animosity towards Matt Stafford in Detroit. The fans were booing him, and I guess fairly so, right? You know, they're going to boo any starting quarterback that comes in.
Yeah, I don't understand the sensitivity there.
Yeah, I thought it's like the starting quarterback of the other teams. Of course, you're going to boo him.
I think his feelings were hurt.
Yeah, I don't think his feelings were hurt at all. But yeah, I thought it was a great game from both teams. That was a close game, that one. And I think the better team ultimately won the game, though, the Detroit Lions. I did say the LA Rams. I was liking how they were playing in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
End of the day, I think there'll be a team, though, that can stay at the top for a little bit. I think they'll be in the playoff picture for a couple more years. And now, as for the other games, the Houston Texans, man, they put on a show against the Cleveland Browns. C.J. Stroud showed everybody why he was an MVP candidate in his rookie year. What a game he had. And yeah, then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield. And finally, to cap it all up, we had
Eagles-Bucs.
Well, yeah, that was Eagles-Bucs, but we had Jordan Love put on a show against the Dallas Cowboys. How great is that? No one was really predicting the Packers to win that game. The 7th seed has never won against the 2 seed until that game, since the 7th seed has been implemented.
Going forward, you cannot pick the Dallas Cowboys.
You can't. And
until they prove everybody wrong. You can't pick them. I can't believe they're sticking with Mike McCarthy.
And I just can't believe a team that was so dominant and so just amazing. The offense and defense, both sides of the ball, were pristine in the regular season, and all of a sudden, bam, just like that, they're out of the playoffs.
Major collapse. I mean, it was a horrible game.
That is an all-time choke.
The defense did not play well. The defensive schemes, it was just amazing what happened.
But, you know, you do have to say, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers are here to stay. Like, what a showing he had. That was kind of his, hey, I'm
Very well
here.
coached game. Green Bay played great. And Jordan Love, I told you I was high on him halfway through the season. And he's really, he's proven to be a gamer.
Yeah, but now let's
he's going to have his hands full this weekend now.
Yeah, and we're going to go into the AFC first before we jump into Jordan Love over there on the NFC side. And let's jump straight into the other young quarterback that's doing very well for himself right now, C.J. Stroud. They're going to M&T Bank Stadium where they're playing the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have an elite defense led by Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton, Notre Dame guy, had 2 interceptions like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's been on fire this season. That defense has been on the tear. Lamar Jackson's the MVP candidate. This is a team that steamrolled the 49ers. Brock Purdy had a terrible game, but that's largely due to the fact that this Ravens defense is just that good. They played in week 1, these two teams, Ravens and Texans. Ravens won 25-9. That means nothing. There's been 17, 18 weeks since then. But just for reference, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't. The spread's 9.5, and I think the Ravens will do just fine in covering that spread. So I'm going to go with the Ravens, too. I don't think it's a hard pick. I do not see an upset happening here. You always try to look for that, but I just think the Texans will be very happy that they got this far. And
you got any score of the game?
It'll be a good learning experience for them. I think it's going to be somewhere around like 31-13 Ravens.
31-13 is crazy. 13, I think C.J. Stroud, after what I saw last week, I mean, they're rolling high on confidence. I think it's going to be a closer game than you think, because maybe Baltimore, let's just take into account, they haven't played, you know? The starters rested against the Steelers, and then they had the bye week. So I'm going to go with something more. I like that 31 score for the Baltimore Ravens, but I'll give the Houston Texans 21 points in this game. So 31-21, I think, is a bit more of a fair score. And we'll see.
We'll see. I think the Ravens are going to have a tough time. In Baltimore, I've been in that stadium. That crowd's going to be going crazy.
That is a good fan base,
it's going to be an interesting
for sure
atmosphere.
Yeah, now let's jump into the other AFC game.
Chiefs versus Bills.
This
right?
is the game of the slate because it's Josh Allen versus Pat Mahomes. These two guys have put on clinics in the regular season and in the postseason. This year they met, and the Bills actually got the better of the Chiefs this year, I believe, 20-17.
Yep.
But in the playoffs, Pat Mahomes is 2-0, and I don't know if you remember, but with 13 seconds on the clock, Pat Mahomes stormed down the field and
you can't forget that.
And tied.
Craziest.
And then they go into overtime, and now the overtime rules have changed since then because of that game where Pat Mahomes obviously gets the ball in overtime, and once Pat Mahomes gets the ball in overtime, it's game over.
Yep.
See you later, Chiefs of the Super Bowl. So this is a good one. I'm really curious to see what you think on this.
Well,
one.
it's in Buffalo. All right.
It is in Buffalo.
So you got the I know you're a big believer in the Buffalo. What do they call it? The Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia. I am a believer in those guys.
So it's going to be an incredible atmosphere. This is, believe it or not, Mahomes' first away game in the playoffs.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that. That's actually
Super Bowl
really interesting.
is considered a neutral site, and Mahomes has never had an away game in the playoffs.
I find that hard to believe, but now that you think of it, all of the memories I have of him are in Arrowhead, so it makes sense.
Yeah, they've always been the top seed. So I do think, I mean, not that I think that's going to matter so much with Mahomes. I'm going to go with
that's actually a really good, I didn't know that.
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills on this one just because part of me really wants to see Josh Allen go to that next level.
Same here.
I would love to see it, and I think the Bills, I'm not incredibly confident with this pick, but I do think the Bills will find enough to get past the Chiefs and be able to shut them down. It's only a 2-point spread, 2.5-point spread. So even the odds makers don't know which way this one's going.
No, not at all.
So it could go either way. Obviously, it's going to be a tight game, and I'm going to go with the Bills by a field goal. So,
wow. Okay.
27-24 Bills.
Yeah. So. That's interesting because I actually have a field goal as well, but I'm going the opposite. I'm going 23-20 in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. I just have a tough time betting against Pat Mahomes. It's kind of like the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady era, where it's like, how can you ever bet against Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid? And even the Chiefs' defense is pretty solid. The Bills had a rough start to the year. They were actually average. And going into the final week of the season, they could have been the 2 seed or eliminated from the playoffs altogether. So, Bills are one of those teams where it's like, wow, they've really been up and down throughout the season, and they've really come back. They have so much momentum going into this game, but I just have such a tough time. And Josh Allen, as great as he is, there's something about Pat Mahomes. He is just a winner.
I mean, he has not lost too many games, but this is his first away game. It will be interesting. He doesn't have that receiving core he's had in the past, so they're going to rely a lot on Kelce. Kelce's going to have an A game, but I think the Bills will shut that down. But it's going to be a great matchup. Great coaches on both sides of the ball.
Very close game indeed. I like that. And now let's go into
where are we going next?
The NFC. We're going to head to the Lions versus the Buccaneers.
Okay.
And for this game, I think it's a pretty even game. Most people are counting out the Buccaneers, but I don't think the Lions' defense is as good as people make it out to be.
Hutchinson's been playing really good though. The last few games,
Hutchinson. That's one player. I mean, they're a good defense, but they're not great. And I think Baker Mayfield can still perform well. It's not
love Baker Mayfield.
It's not like he's gonna be shut out. I've been on this Baker Mayfield bandwagon since his college days. I know he's a bit of a character. He's all these antics, but I've always liked the swagger he's played with and the story of Baker Mayfield
need that
as
swagger.
well. And they do need that swagger. The one thing that scares me with the Bucs is their rushing game. I don't think their rushing attack is very potent. But end of the day, it's playoff football. And I'm feeling an upset in this game. As hard as it is to play at Ford Field, I think the Bucs will storm in there 24-17.
What? You think the Buccaneers are going to beat the Lions in Detroit? Wow.
I just think I'm just a big Baker Mayfield guy. And listen, I mean, this could go terrible for me, but I know that. I'm well aware of that fact.
This could go terrible for me.
But I'm going to have to roll with my guns. Because you know what? I also had the Rams winning in my bracket, so I have nothing to lose now. It's like I never picked the Lions, so I don't hold it.
Don't do that.
I'm just saying I don't hold it.
Stand behind your pick.
I don't hold the Lions to anything. I never picked the Lions. That's what I'm telling you. No, listen.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. The Bucs have a very good defense under Bowles. I mean, I don't know what they were ranked during the season. It might.
Yeah, the Bucs defense is really good.
But in the playoffs, I mean,
average
last week he did a great job. With the blitzing, lots of blitzing. I do think though the Lions are just going to be too difficult for them. I actually think the Lions are going to win this game
By big.
Well, I think they're going to cover the spread, which is 6.5. So I'm going to go with the Lions to cover this game and win it by 10 points. So the score that I got is 31-21 Detroit Lions. I do think Hutchinson's going to make a very big impact on the game.
Yeah, well,
I know you're not a big Hutchinson guy, but
I am a Hutchinson fan.
he's on a
What? Are you kidding
3-game
me?
multi-sack streak, and he's
Okay, Mr. ESPN over there. Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, good for him, right? He's a good player. I've never said Aiden Hutchinson. You're putting words in my mouth. I feel like, I never said anything about Aiden Hutchinson, and you're throwing these words into my mouth that I've never said. So I really don't appreciate that.
Oh,
and we'll head into the next game.
No. Hold on. One other thing about that game, just to look for. The referee crew that is going to be doing that game, I read.
All from Michigan.
No, they're. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But they throw the most flags out of any referee crew. They're very stingy, and they call tight games. So that's going to be something to look forward to.
Well,
you're going to see the yellow flag a little bit.
Yeah, the Lions, they've been mad at the refs before this year.
Yeah,
Remember
they've had a tough time with the refs.
19
So
against them boys.
That's why I brought it up, because they're
interesting.
always crying about the refereeing.
Yeah, well,
Although they had a right to.
even if they beat the Bucs, I think they'll be crying in the NFC Championship.
Well, let's not get
because
ahead of ourselves.
Let's go in to the next game, to that team I'm talking about, the San Francisco 49ers. As good as the Green Bay Packers are, I actually really like Jordan Love. I think this is an all-around super solid team. The 49ers have Ayuk and Kittle, both over 1,000 yards on the season. They also have Debo, who's at like 800, and then McCaffrey, who is a great pass-catching back. And they also have McCaffrey, who's nearing in on 1,500 rushing yards on the ground this season. And then you have like 3 or 4 guys all above 200 yards. I think, how do you compete with that? You just don't. As a defense, there is just no stopping this 49ers offense. For that reason, don't forget about Nick Bosa. You want to talk about pass rushers, 10.5 sacks on the season. Give me the 49ers. I like the Packers, but the 49ers are just too good. And they'll win this game 42-24.
Wow. Blowout.
Somewhat.
You don't think Jordan Love's going to do anything?
I think it'll be close for the first 2.5, 3 quarters, but I think the Niners will just run away with it.
Okay. I got the 49ers winning too. I don't think this is a hard one. Take the money. 49ers going to beat them 34-17. I think it's a good score.
Yeah.
I think McCaffrey's just way too much for the Packers to handle, and all the other
I'll tell you what, though, the
Kittles.
Packers.
I mean, you got a whole list of Arsenal. They're the number 1 offense in the NFL, the 49ers. The Packers have overachieved this year.
Well, I'll tell you something about the Packers that I really liked in that game. They won the coin toss, wanted the ball, and on that first drive against the Cowboys, they stuck it to the Cowboys, went in the end zone. That was impressive, and their running game in that drive was phenomenal. That is something to keep an eye out for. But the difference between that game and this game is you're not playing the Dallas Cowboys anymore, and you're not playing the San Francisco 49ers.
If you watch that game, the Dallas Cowboys just rolled over. I mean, they didn't even compete.
They weren't ready. They weren't ready,
They
no.
did not even compete, so it's hard to... How much credit do you give the Packers, and how much do you blame the Cowboys? I thought the
think it's a
Cowboys...
mix, healthy mix.
Cowboys played awful, and the
They were all over the place,
Packers were ready to compete. That's what it came down to. So
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think with this game, though, the Niners will win the game, just like you. So it will make an interesting championship game.
Yeah, for sure. And do you have any Super Bowl picks right now that any team you're liking to win the Super Bowl?
We'll wait till after this weekend. I like to
You
narrow
always
it
do
down.
this. How about
I
you
like to get
just
it down.
decide now? If you had to call it right now, right here, gun to your head, who's winning the Super Bowl? I'll tell you the 49ers. Gun to my head, 49ers are winning the Super Bowl.
Buffalo Bills.
Okay, interesting. And okay.
That's a crazy pick, but I'm going to go
It's
Buffalo
not crazy.
Bills.
They're a second seed. They're a good team. 12-6.
Buffalo Bills. I would love to see the Detroit Lions make it and compete in the Super Bowl, just because I love Dan Campbell.
I would like to see the Lions versus the Texans. That would be the people's Super Bowl.
Where's Bill Belichick going to end up?
Bill Belichick, apparently, as we were just talking before the show, the Atlanta Falcons.
Yep. Yep.
And I think
He met with Arthur Blanc.
Yeah.
He's already had 2 meetings, and now he's meeting organizational people. So he's trying to see who's in the building, what do they do, what are their roles. I think he likes that because Arthur Blanc's an older guy. He's a gazillionaire.
That's what I'm thinking too.
They all are. But he's kind of got that craft feel to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he's going to stay out of his business and just let him run the team. Chargers, he might not want to go there. I was hoping he would go to the Chargers, but I said Bill Belichick is not a West Coast guy. He's an East Coast guy. He was born and raised in the East Coast, and that's where he is.
Now, I think, speaking of the Chargers, I think Mr. Michigan himself will be going there, Jim Harbaugh, and we'll see how that works out. He hasn't coached in the NFL in quite a bit, but
I think actually
he led the
Vrabel might get the
Mike
the
Vrabel,
nod.
that'd be an interesting one.
It's going to be between those two. The thing about the Chargers is they're notoriously cheap with their coaches. Their last 3 they do not spend a lot of money on coaches. They're notoriously.
They should also get a coach that's offensive oriented because
How about somebody with experience for a change? They're always hiring these young guys, no experience, no head coaching experience, and then they stink.
And you have a gold mine in Justin Herbert. I think that guy's most. Besides, I think the top 3 right now are Mahomes, Allen, Herbert in terms of pure talent. You
I
can't,
agree, and I think
and
it's the most
physical intangibles too.
It should be the most coveted job right now.
Yeah.
So I think Harbaugh and Vrabel, one's going to end up in Seattle, one's going to end up in.
And speaking of coaches too, real quick, I just want to give a shout out to D'Amico Ryans from the Houston Texans. I know we both had them losing to the Ravens, but no matter what, for going from 3 to 13-1 to coming in as a rookie coach this year and leading them to the divisional round. That is serious. That is one of the most impressive coaching jobs I've seen in the NFL in a long time. I think he's done
Helps when you have a quarterback.
but he's a defensive minded guy. So he's running the defense, and the defense has been spectacular. Last year they had 13 losses because their defense was also abysmal. So it's not like he hasn't done things on both sides of the ball.
Can you believe that the Eagles have said they're going to stick with Nick Sirianni?
That's just terrible. Oh, and wait. Cowboys and Cowboys.
Well, Cowboys are going to stick with McCarthy, but so far it looks like Nick Sirianni's going to stick around with the Eagles. I hope he does.
His coordinator should at least be fired, but it's funny because his 2 coordinators after the Super Bowl got jobs as head coaches at the Colts and the Cardinals, and now look at them, and now they stink. So
yeah, that's the other thing. The Philadelphia Eagles. What happened to them? They were 10-1, and then just won 1 game
That's
for
one of
the
the most
remainder of the
interesting
season.
stories ever.
One of
in
the
NFL.
biggest collapses in NFL history.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have happened to a better city.
Well, listen.
Sorry, Brian, if you're listening. We love you, buddy.
But Philadelphia, I mean, the coolest sports atmosphere I ever experienced was actually MLS playoffs. Felt the ground shake.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
That was pretty cool. Got our own suite.
Their
to
fans
ourselves.
are passionate, but
they're passionate.
a little crazy.
Annoying. A little annoying though.
All right, so let's go watch some football.
Yeah, we'll do that. Everybody, make sure to like, subscribe. Thanks for watching the podcast. We'll catch you guys next week.